Those exclusive new details about Bill Cosby's sexual assault trial. A juror going on camera for the first time, speaking only to ABC about those tense negotiations, deliberations, and why the case ended in a mistrial. ABC's Lindsay Davis sat down with him and joins us now from Pittsburgh. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Robin. Bobby Dugan says that he grew up catching reruns of The Cosby Show. He says at one time he would have even considered himself a fan. And then there he was helping to decide the comedian's fate. And while he admits to waffling back and forth, guilty, not guilty, he says in the end, he had no doubt.
New details this morning about the tears and tension during those grueling 52 hours of deliberations in the Bill Cosby sexual assault trial.
The most intense moment, I think, was when there's about 4 people crying in the room. One was out in the hallway, pacing, visibly upset.
What was the reason for the tears?
We couldn't really get anything down to like a solid thing, and that just frustrated people.
21-year-old Bobby Dugan says more than a week later, he still agonizes over the fact that the 12 jurors could not agree on a verdict.
I've had regret, I guess, when we came to the final deadlock decision. And it kind of has been eaten in my mind, this could all be said and done.
Do you think there's something that could have happened differently to change the outcome?
Evidence. If we all said it a million times in the room, if there's other evidence, more substantial evidence, we would have had a better verdict than deadlock.
And you can't say your opinion one way or another about where you fell?
In my opinion, yes, I can. I thought he was guilty.
But you didn't always feel that way?
No.
What swayed you?
People's opinions, and hearing their arguments, and just hearing what they have to say about everything.
Can you say what one particular strong point was that made you think, boy, he's guilty?
What he said himself, I think it was in the 2005 deposition, when they were asking him, would you use the word consent? He said, I want to use that word. I was like, you pretty much said it there yourself, man. Somebody brought it up inside the room, deliberation room. And so when we went back out to hear it, just lit a light bulb in my head.
But in the end, he says it was Bill Cosby's word versus the account of his accuser, Andrea Constant, who says Cosby drugged and sexually assaulted her back in 2004. Cosby says the encounter was consensual.
It was all he said, she said, and what it really comes down to, who are you going to believe more? That's all it was.
He describes the 5th day of deliberations as the point at which the group became stir-crazy.
You're stuck in a small room with 11 other people. And even if you do become good friends with them, it's still the one little thing that one person might do will drive you insane.
Did you feel like the size of the room had any impact on...
It got smaller every day.
Why deliberate for so long?
Because you don't want to quit right away. If you quit just like that, you could be getting away with something. You always want to be that extra sure whether he's guilty or he's not guilty.
Did you get the sense in the room that the idea that this was Bill Cosby, that played large in the room?
Definitely. I think if it was a regular average Joe, it probably wouldn't have taken that long.
He says the group still keeps in touch and vowed to not talk about one thing.
What was the pact?
Not discuss the vote.
Why was that?
The judge told us not to.
Okay.
And we didn't want to mess up a future trial.
Do you think that another jury will have a better chance at a different outcome?
I can't say for definite. I hope there is one, because the mistrial, I don't think it was right. You should always have a verdict or one way or another.
Bobby says that the jurors grew extremely close, that they still keep in touch regularly on text, and they ultimately plan to have one big group dinner. But he says for now they're just trying to recover after what he calls 2 weeks of agony. Robin?
Lindsay, thank you. We're going to bring in ABC News Chief Legal Analyst Dan Abrams. Enlightening listening to that young man. What did you make of what he said?
Well, first of all, this is exactly what jurors are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to listen to the other jurors, keep an open mind. The judge tells them in every case, keep an open mind, and try to reach a verdict. But let's be clear, it's really rare that you have people sort of swaying the way we've heard this jury swayed. going from almost all of them, if not all of them, from not guilty to so many of them to guilty, etc. But one thing he said there really struck me, which is he's saying, in effect, if it hadn't been Bill Cosby, we would have been able to reach a verdict, he thought. And it sounds to me like what he's saying is, I think there would have been a conviction because he was for a guilty verdict. And it sounds like he's suggesting that if it had been somebody else, they might have been able to reach a unanimous verdict.
We're listening very closely to what he is saying and the other jurors. How closely the prosecution and the defense listening to these jurors?
They're listening to every word. And, you know, very often, by the way, in cases, the lawyers will go and interview the jurors after the case. This judge has put very firm restrictions in a very unusual way on what these jurors can and can't say about the deliberation process. But no question, each side is going to want to know, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How do we change our strategy this next time around so that we can present a better case? Have you heard anything so far that leads you to believe that there will or will not be a retrial? Well, I think it's pretty clear that there's going to be a retrial. You know, the prosecutors have come out and said that they're going to retry Bill Cosby, and I take them at their word. And I think I think the prosecution's going to be at a little advantage the next time around. All right, Dan. Thanks so much.